This is Power Hour with Gabriella Power.
Hello and welcome to Power Hour. I'm Gabriella Power. Thank you for joining us. Coming up on the show, he's the president of peace. US President Donald Trump confirms that Israel and Hamas have agreed to the first phase of his Gaza peace deal that will see the hostages come home.
And they're going to need me pretty quickly, so I will take a couple of more questions.
Later in the show, more Democrats rally behind Jay Jones after text messages revealed that he fantasised about the murder of his political opponent. And of course, right now we're seeing a disturbing rise in left-wing violence. Just a month ago, we saw Charlie Kirk assassinated on stage while engaging in debate. Yet Nancy Pelosi tells CNN that Jay Jones is the better person to be Virginia's AG.
They say that on balance he's the better person to be Attorney General, but that's up to them. But I wish there would be enough fuss of all the times that people have said they were going to put a bullet in my head right in public.
California Democrat Katie Porter threatens to storm off mid-interview.
I don't want to keep doing this. I'm going to call it. Okay. Thank you.
You're not going to do the interview with us?
Nope, not like this. I'm not. Not with 7 follow-ups to every single question you ask.
Every other candidate has answered our follow-ups.
I don't care.
And Australia's Sex Discrimination Commissioner doesn't know what a man is.
Did you mean that biological males can be women?
Men. So I think that we have different language that perhaps you're using than I would use. So I don't understand the term biological men.
Joining us now is James Billow, newsroom editor at Unheard. James, thanks so much for joining us. He vowed to be the president of peace, and Donald Trump has just announced that Israel and Hamas have signed off on the first phase of his Gaza peace plan. Now, moments before Donald Trump made this announcement on social media, Trump was taking questions from reporters, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio passed Donald Trump this note with an urgent update on peace negotiations. Look at this.
Treasury with all these different departments to find the criminal conspiracy.
Okay. I'm just given. I was just given a note by the Secretary of State saying that we're very close to a deal in the Middle East, and they're going to need me pretty quickly. So I will take a couple of more questions.
Donald Trump posted on Truth Social, "I'm very proud to announce that Israel and Hamas have both signed off on the first phase of our peace plan. This means that all of the hostages will be released very soon, and Israel will withdraw their troops to an agreed upon line as the first steps toward a strong, durable and everlasting peace. All parties will be treated fairly. This is a great day for the Arab and Muslim world, Israel and all surrounding nations, and the United States of America. And we thank the mediators from Qatar, Egypt and Turkey who worked with us to make this historic and unprecedented event happen. Blessed are the peacemakers." Now, James, this is, of course, the first phase, but the president deserves an enormous amount of credit for this. What did you make of it?
Well, it's not often that Donald Trump cuts a press conference short, so you know it was a big deal already. I have to say, if he can pull this off, and it looks as though he is, it's the deal of the century. It's the deal of Donald Trump's lifetime, and it's just a shame that the Nobel Peace Prize is being announced later this week, because I genuinely believe this could have been a pretty good pitch for it. What Donald Trump has done is what his predecessors have failed to do, and the facts are that if these hostages are returned, he can somehow convince Hamas, maybe even Israel, to disarm, and there is sort of this partial withdrawal from Gaza. He deserves a huge amount of credit for what he's accomplished, and the same goes for his whole administration and the negotiators in the Middle East. So, yeah, this is without a doubt the most extraordinary thing I've seen in the last 10 or so years.
Absolutely extraordinary, and the initial reports are that some of those hostages may be coming home as early as Sunday. James, I wonder what Greta Thunberg and other pro-Palestinian activists are going to be doing with their time now.
Oh, God, I dread to think. I mean, fortunately, she has now been deported from Israel, so she can't at least make any more features down there. But we can only hope she's returned to Sweden and found a new environmental cause to get worked up about, because as far as this is concerned, it's over.
Now, look, Trump was hosting a roundtable at the White House on Antifa. This is what the president had to say.
The epidemic of left-wing violence and Antifa-inspired terror has been escalating for nearly a decade. At universities, Antifa has organized riotous mobs to attack campus speakers. I see it all the time. And these are agitators, anarchists, and they're paid. And you'll find that out. You'll be finding it out very soon. You should see what we have on these people. These are bad people. These are people that want to destroy our country. We're not going to let it happen.
Plenty of independent journalists attended and spoke about how they've been targeted by Antifa-like thugs and who have been protesting outside Portland's ICE facility. Just less than a week ago, independent journalist Nick Salter was arrested after he was allegedly targeted by ICE. But listening to Donald Trump there, he's certainly cracking down.
Yes, Antifa is a notoriously difficult group to track down because it's diffuse, it's decentralized, there isn't a clear leadership. But as you mentioned, these are people of violence, they are thugs, and they should be treated as such. I actually find it bizarre that some of Trump's predecessors, Biden and Obama, did not make a similar designation because Antifa have been causing problems in America for years, if not decades. And it's high time that they've been come to be dealt with because as things stand, my concern is that political violence is becoming increasingly normalized in America. And if there's no stop put to these groups, then it's just going to carry on and carry on and carry on. So I hope this designation makes a difference.
Speaking of political violence, let's talk about Jay Jones. And many Democrats are refusing to abandon Virginia Attorney General candidate Jay Jones after it was revealed that he sent text messages calling for the Republican former State House Speaker Todd Gilbert to be shot in the head. The messages are so disturbing, giving plenty of detail around the way he fantasizes about how he'd like that violence to be carried out against his opponent. Now, Nancy Pelosi was asked about Jay Jones today, and this was her response.
A scandal over text messages in which he, the Democrat, said that the GOP Speaker of the House of Delegates should get 2 bullets to the head for how he paid tribute to a former moderate Democratic lawmaker who died. He has apologized. Should he get out of the race?
Well, that's up to the people, the leaders in Virginia. They have said he has apologized. What I understand is they say that on balance he's the better person to be Attorney General. But that's up to them. But I wish there would be enough fuss of all the times that people have said they were going to put a bullet in my head right in public.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of that. I think it's really a new low when you've got high-profile Democrats essentially continuing to endorse this candidate by not calling on him to withdraw.
It's a strange thing to see for a party that supposedly prides itself on civility and decency. These messages are twisted, they're sick, and I would condemn it if it came from a Republican just as I do as it comes from a Democrat. I cannot believe that Democrats have not expressed any discomfort or at least criticized what's going on here. Now, from what I've been reading, Jay Jones has called off a fundraiser, and I have a sneaking suspicion that this campaign may not last all the way through. All I can hope for is that that does happen and he is replaced because for the good of the body politic, this is a pretty sickening thing to see.
100%. Now, there have been a few meltdowns in the CBS newsroom over the news that the brilliant journalist Bari Weiss has become the new editor-in-chief following Paramount's Skydance $150 million acquisition of her outlet, The Free Press. And it's pretty funny to read some of the commentary around this. One staff member apparently said it's utterly depressing. I saw another Guardian article today saying that she's a weird and worrisome choice as top editor for CBS News. I mean, of course, this Liberal meltdown was going to happen. It's to be expected. I mean, the left, I suppose, have such an issue with some of the reporting that is carried out on the Free Press. It challenges DEI, gender ideology, and of course media narratives against Israel. And looking at CBS's news coverage, particularly last year, we saw the editing of Kamala Harris's interview to make her sound better than she actually was. They also admitted to editing Joe Biden's interview to make him sound all there, which would have been quite difficult. Look, James, I want to get your perspective on all of this. I certainly think it's great for journalism that she'll be bringing a fresh perspective.
I think so too. And I think the Free Press is one of the few rays of light in a pretty dark world in media. The legacy media in particular, and CBS is a real standout here. there has been zero introspection and zero kind of interest into why they have lost the faith of the public. The media in America, and actually for most of the Western world, is one of the least trusted institutions in the planet. So it's no wonder that they've got an outside choice to come in and try and shake things up. Bari Weiss is the Free Press's office is actually 2 blocks down from Unheard's in New York, and we think they do great work. We should be proud and we should commend exactly what she's accomplished. She has turned a Substack into a $150 million enterprise in the space of 5 years. CBS could only dream of something like that. And I really hope this is the wake-up call the journalists at those kind of institutions get.
100%. James, I want to ask you about something that's happening here in Australia. I know we normally cover global issues, but the Sex Discrimination Commissioner, Dr. Anna Cody, is now facing pressure to resign after saying she does not understand the term biological men. So she was grilled after making comments last month where she claimed that we are not one version of woman and great diversity is among women. And she now says that she doesn't understand the term biological man. Listen to this.
There are a range of people who identify as women who are women.
Did you mean that biological males can be women?
Men. So I think that we have different language that perhaps you're using than I would use. So I don't understand the term biological men.
Right. This might be a short tranche of questions then.
So she's on more than $300,000 a year thanks to the Australian taxpayer. Here in Australia, we have situations where biological men are in female prisons. Biological men have been given the right to access female-only apps. The role of the Australian Sex Discrimination Commissioner is supposed to be to defend women from discrimination, and she apparently no longer understands what a biological man is, what that means, James. I feel like most of the world has really moved on from this woke nonsense, but not here in Australia.
Yeah, I thought so too. This is like the Japanese soldier that's still fighting on the Filipino island, not realizing the war ended 20 years ago. It's just shocking that these people are still in positions of power and they still cannot answer a question that any toddler on the street could answer. I mean, imagine asking a politician this 40 or 50 years ago. A journalist would have been laughed out of the room. Now they only have to ask one question and it completely downfunds them. And I just cannot get my head around why some people are so committed, this ideological commitment to a basic mistruth, an untruth, a falsehood, and they persist all the way through to 2025. It just beggars belief.
Yeah, it's a basic truth, as you say. Finally, I want to finish with what's happening in the UK. Nigel Farage remains ahead in the polls, and this week he announced that 20 councillors, or Conservative councillors, defected to Reform. Now, listening to Nigel Farage, he's really on point. He just recently vowed that he'd rather go to jail than carry a digital ID card. He continues to be very strong when it comes to the small boat crisis, which reached another milestone with 35,000 migrants crossing the channel illegally this year, James. So it doesn't surprise me.
No, the migrant crisis is not getting any better. Despite what Keir Starmer has agreed with France, we are now on track to hit 50,000 arrivals by the end of the year, which will be a record. In fact, we look set to surpass that record by the end of this month. So really not much is happening on that front. And it's no surprise that Nigel Farage and the Reform Party is surging ahead. Now, would you believe it? The Tory party actually had a conference this week, and it was such a forgettable experience that no one really knew it even happened. So once again, I don't even think that Nigel Farage is going to be in power in a coalition. I think he's looking set for a majority. And I think 2029 is going to be the most consequential election of our lifetime.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. James Pillow, newsroom editor at Unheard, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
It's time for Media Meltdown, starting with footage that has surfaced of a CBS interview with Democrat candidate for California Governor Katie Porter. Now, the interview was so uncomfortable to watch because it goes from bad to train wreck in a matter of seconds. Just watch how Katie Porter handles it when the reporter asks her questions.
If you're from a deep blue area, if you're from LA or you're from Oakland, you don't have an experience.
But you just said you don't need those Trump voters.
Well, you asked me if I needed them to win.
So you don't
I
think
feel like this is unnecessarily argumentative. What is your question?
The question is the same thing I asked everybody, that this is being called the empowering voters to stop Trump's power grab. Every other candidate has answered this question. This is not
Correct. And I said I support it.
Yeah, and unfortunately for this Democrat who wants to be the governor of one of the largest states in the country, well, the CBS journalist continues to do her job by asking follow-up questions, and that was just too much for Katie Porter to handle.
We've also asked the other candidates, do you think you need any of those 40% of California voters to win? And you're saying, no, you don't.
No, I'm saying I'm going to try to win every vote I can. And what I'm saying to you is that...
Well, to those voters, okay, so you...
I don't want to keep doing this. I'm going to call it. Okay. Thank you.
You're not going to do the interview with us?
Nope, not like this. I'm not. Not with 7 follow-ups to every single question you ask.
Every other candidate has answered our follow-ups.
I don't care.
She keeps clapping her hands. Now, after threatening to storm out of the interview, this is what she has to say for herself.
Ms.
And
Porter,
we're just going to circle around.
I am an investigative
I have never
reporter.
had to do this before, ever.
You've never had to have a conversation with
to end an
reporter?
interview.
Okay, but every other candidate has done this.
What part of I'm me? I'm running for governor because I'm a leader. So I am going to make...
So you're not going to answer questions from reporters?
I'm a leader. I think a leader answers questions. And maybe that's how Californian Democrats handle interviews that they just don't like these days. Remember when LA Mayor Karen Bass went to Ghana while LA was on fire at the start of the year? And when a reporter asked her about it, she just ignored him. She couldn't think of a single word to say while her city was going up in flames.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today? Can you back up? Appreciate it. Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position? Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today who are dealing with this disaster?
Yep. Nope, not a word. Joining us now is Alex Stein, comedian and host of Blaze TV's Prime Time with Alex Stein. Alex, great to see you again. I mean, what did you make of that CBS interview? Is this a strategy now among Democrats to just storm off in interviews if you don't like questions or if you happen to get a follow-up question?
Well, of course. I mean, when you look at Katie Porter and her run for governor, it's going to be an epic failure. She knows that. So she doesn't want to try to go there and get exposed. And I think that's why she felt like she was being victimized, just being asked normal questions. And that's the problem, is our politicians can't even answer a simple question. And that's the problem really on the left, is at least the right. There's people like Charlie, and I know Charlie hadn't run for office yet, but people on the right are willing to actually ask and answer tough questions. People on the left, they refuse to have these conversations. So Katie Porter is a good example of the opposite of what Charlie Kirk was trying to do. Charlie Kirk was trying 100%. To have conversations that were difficult and unpleasant, and she's afraid to literally answer a question from a CBS journalist. So they're the opposite, polar opposites of the leaders on the right. And California is basically the side effect of California's, all of their failures is a side effect of their leadership.
Yeah. And look, let's look at LA Mayor Karen Bass. There's been a major development on the devastating January fires. Authorities have now confirmed that a 29-year-old man has been charged with setting a blaze that later grew into the Palisades fire. So Jonathan Rinjanet, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, is accused of maliciously sparking a fire on January 1. Now, the Palisades fire, as we know, left 12 people dead, destroyed more than 7,000 homes and businesses, caused about $150 billion in damages. Now, this man who has been charged with setting a blaze is understood rather to be a Biden-supporting Uber driver. He allegedly used ChatGPT to research fires. Alex, right now people are looking back at old clips of LA Mayor Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom during the real crisis point of these fires. People were losing their homes. It was just devastating. And Gavin Newsom was also kind of suggesting, but not directly stating it, that there were suggestions that this was a climate change that climate change really played a role in the fires. But could I get your reaction now that a 29-year-old man has been charged 9 months on?
Well, it's good that they caught the guy, and it's good that he's being charged. And if he was looking up all these things, I think it's pretty obvious that he's guilty. But luckily in America, you're innocent until proven guilty. So he'll have his day in court. And as terrible as his actions were, I actually think that it's actually worse that Karen Bass didn't have water in the fire hydrants. And the fact that, Gavin Newsom wants to blame, he literally wants to blame the climate for this fire. And in a way, he's actually right, because if he actually used his funding to clear this dry brush, then this fire wouldn't have been able to spread so easily. So I do actually kind of blame the environment, but it's not because of climate change. It's because they are too incompetent to actually pay landscapers or pay the right people to go and clean all this brush up and not make it where it's basically a matchstick in the middle of one of the most populated areas of California. So it's a horrible tragedy. This guy deserves, in my opinion, basically the death penalty, up in the closest thing to it, because a lot of people's lives were just turned upside down. The whole country's lives were turned upside down. And I think Karen Bass, and I'm not saying this lightly, has blood on her hands for not having all of the fire hoses working. I mean, literally people were going to fire hydrants and there was no reservoir of water. That makes no sense. And then when the head of the county of the fire response team said that they warned Karen Bass about this potential problem, Karen Bass overlooked it. And when the fire chief talked about this, the fire chief is the one that got fired. So it's absolutely ridiculous. We need to hold these politicians accountable. And there is blood on Karen Bass's hands because of this horrible tragedy.
Yeah, well, Karen Bass flew to Ghana to attend a cocktail party after vowing that she wouldn't be flying off while she was being the mayor of Los Angeles. And when she comes back, she refused to even answer questions. I mean, the handling and the incompetence, it was just absolutely appalling. And Alex, MSNBC is facing calls to sack host Nicole Wallace after she appeared to blame a house fire in South Carolina on Donald Trump and his supporters, of course, after authorities had ruled out arson. Listen to this.
When we come back, what we're learning about the fire that destroyed the home of a South Carolina circuit court judge who faced criticism from Trump officials after a ruling she made against the Trump administration. It comes amid a surge in hostility and threats against judges, as well as criticism directly from the Trump administration, including for Judge Goodstein, after she temporarily blocked the Justice Department from accessing the files of millions of registered voters in South Carolina.
Right, and when you're starting to attack judges because of their rulings, we're in a very, very dangerous position in this country, and it makes judges fearful. It makes prosecutors fearful, as we know. It makes others in positions where they could be criticized by Donald Trump fearful. And he needs to know the power of his voice.
Alex, I want your reaction to that in just one moment. But Donald Trump has blasted MSNBC today at the White House. Listen to this.
Their ratings are terrible.
They are terrible.
MSNBC is dying and CNN is dying like a dog.
And
poor CNN, it's so pathetic.
It is very pathetic.
You ever see their anchors in the evening? That nobody ever heard of them. Where do these people come? I could take anybody off the street in Washington, D.C. They'd do a better job.
It's not hard to show what's going on these days. You literally have an iPhone and you can post it on X.
They don't believe in the star system, It's just one of those things, right?
Yeah, Alex, I love the way he speaks sometimes. He's not wrong.
No, he's not. And MSNBC, their ratings are absolutely horrible. CNN, I mean, they couldn't be really doing any worse than MSNBC. And MSNBC is doing so bad, they're having to do a rebrand and change their name to MS Now. They're doing that because NBC is embarrassed by their low performance. And that's a horrible sign when you actually have a recognizable name brand in MSNBC and you want to kind of disassociate yourself with it. It's because they've tarnished their legacy by just giving fake news. And everybody knows that. That is the one thing that I'm so thankful for Donald Trump, because he did call out fake news. And a lot of us, we used to just trust the news blindly. And because of Donald Trump, we all realize that the news is all biased and more than likely probably a lie. So I'm very thankful for Donald Trump actually having, the courage to call out the mainstream media, because really and truly, they don't care about the American people. They just want to keep us in the dark when it comes to truth.
Mainstream media and then also celebrities, because it's just been resurfaced what Oprah Winfrey had to say while she was endorsing Kamala Harris. This clip has been going viral today because it was almost a year ago that she said this.
Sit this one out. We don't get to sit this one out. If we don't show up tomorrow, it is entirely possible that we will not have the opportunity to ever cast a ballot again.
I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. And you can hear people cheering after Oprah Winfrey says that. And isn't it weird that what Oprah said has not happened and Donald Trump is right now making peace deals in the Middle East?
Yeah, and the worst part about that is I believe Oprah's production company got paid $20 million allegedly to go and make that statement. So that is called fear mongering. She's using fear to scare everybody as if democracy is going to die if Donald Trump wins. When in reality, Donald Trump would risk his life to save democracy and save our democratically run country. So they all have to lie. Oprah, you know, she barely opened up the highway that she owns in Hawaii when they had that tsunami warning. So she doesn't truly care about people. She wants to virtue signal. She wants to give the impression that she's all about the people because she gave people, you know, a Toyota Camry on her show. You know, that she gave a bunch of people free cars, 20 years ago, and she thinks that, you know, her karma is going to be fine. Oprah is probably, of all the celebrities, and I hate to say this because I actually did like her show, she could care less about the American people. She's probably the most highfalutin, stuck-up host of all of them. And I say this because she is talented, but she's just so elitist. It rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah, I used to like her as well. When you hear her say things like this, so close to the election last year, it's hard to have any respect for her. Now, Donald Trump met with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney at the White House to negotiate a trade deal, and the president couldn't resist interrupting the Canadian PM.
This is, in many respects, the most important.
The merger of Canada and the United States.
That wasn't where it was going.
Yeah, he never misses, does he?
No, but honestly, I disagree with Trump on this. And I don't want Canada. Canada's a great country. I got a lot of Canadian friends, but I want Canada to be Canada. I want America to be America. And their currency is so much weaker than us. They're the only ones that I think benefit. And then all the Canadians get American citizenship. So really, America in this deal loses. But Donald Trump is a very smart guy. So I know that his ideas are not dumb. But personally, I want Mark Carney to run Canada and I want Donald Trump to run America.
Yeah, he's just brilliant at trolling, isn't he? You can just imagine all the lefties freaking out about making a joke like that. Now, I want to talk to you, of course, about Charlie Kirk. It's been 1 month. I think it's 1 month tomorrow since Charlie Kirk was assassinated. It was, well, you know, one of the most horrific things I think we've ever had to see. Now, you've been out speaking at college campuses, keeping his legacy going. How's it been out there?
Well, you know, I am just a nobody compared to Charlie Kirk. I'm so thankful that Turning Point even allows me to go speak to the students on campus. And I know that ever since Charlie's death, how terrible that was, Turning Point has gotten such an influx in requests to start new chapters and join and even, you know, purchase merch that they're overextended. They can't even accommodate all the requests they're getting. And Charlie would love that because now Turning Point is as big as it'll ever be. But in a million years of me going out there and trying to debate college kids, I will never be as good as Charlie Kirk. I will never fill Charlie Kirk's shoes. And I'm just so thankful that I got to be, you know, friends with Charlie and I got to talk to him. And even though I was older than Charlie, I looked up to him so much. I wanted to emulate him so much so that Charlie thought it was so funny when I would go on college campuses and I would pretend to be Charlie Kirk by calling myself Charlie Kurt, and that all the students really thought it was Charlie. So I would get huge crowds. Amazing. And actually Charlie liked it because at the end of the day, it helped Turning Point get more students at their events. So Charlie, all he cared about was a mission, and I miss him. And it's an honor and privilege to even get to represent Turning Point at all these great universities I speak at.
Alex, power to you for keeping it going, and we'll keep following your journeys and your experiences speaking to college campus kids. We really appreciate you joining us on Power Hour. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Prince Harry's charity work is facing another major setback. Riley Sullivan is a lifestyle reporter here at skynews.com.au, and he's always across the latest celebrity headlines. Riley, great to see you.
Great to be back.
So this non-profit organisation, African Parks, of which Prince Harry is a board member and was a former president, has been accused of not doing enough to stop poaching, and now the Chad government has cut ties with the charity. Is that right?
That's right, Gab. This has been a sort of big update from the government in Chad. They have officially said that African Parks can no longer be in charge of managing these two major reserves in their country. This comes after after a period of alleged sort of mismanagement of the parks. They said that African Parks was not doing enough to kind of clamp down on poaching. Of course, this is a charity that's all about preserving the natural world in Chad, and this has been a problem. You know, poaching is a huge issue. You know, these endangered species really have such a small amount of land, and I guess the safety of the animals has just been compromised. So I think that African Parks has allegedly not done enough. There's also been issues about mismanagement in terms of the staff, the people working in the reserves. Again, as you said, Harry is a board member on this charity. That's not to say that he has a lot to do with the day-to-day operations, but of course, any organisation that has the Duke of Sussex on the masthead, it's important, I think, for him to have a lot of transparency about how it's being operated. I think that this is an issue that is more to do with the government of Chad and the people in charge of the charity day-to-day, but I do think that the larger effect, especially months after the Sentebale saga in Lesotho, I think it's really a sign that Harry probably needs to really sit down and reassess, okay, what is my name actually on? What charities am I representing? And are they above board? Because this is really the second time now where a major charity associated with Prince Harry has been accused of misconduct.
Yeah, 100%. Now, Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh, has visited the Democratic Republic of the Congo for a landmark trip to raise awareness about sexual violence in war. What can you tell us about this visit?
Yeah, this was a really moving visit from the Duchess of Edinburgh. She has championed now for over a decade the issue of sexual violence in war. This is a harrowing issue. It's something that unfortunately does not get a lot of headlines. She took a discreet visit to the Democratic Republic of Congo last week. That was not reported on before she arrived. It was only reported on after she left. The reason for that was her safety. So, you know, when you're going into a zone like that, and also dealing with such a kind of serious confronting issue, she was there to raise awareness for the issue. There was also a group of doctors there that were dealing with women and girls that have been impacted by this issue. It's really kind of taken on a huge sort of media profile. I think that is really the power of the Duchess of Edinburgh, to give an issue that is so serious and is happening all over the world. You know, Sophie's also visited Ukraine before. She's visited war zones, and I think that she has done so much to really raise awareness for an issue. And I think that this really comes back to what this monarchy is all about. It's not just tiaras, it's not just state banquets. You know, when they're really out there in the field, like Sophie does so well, she can raise awareness for these really serious issues that unfortunately are not talked about enough.
Now, King Charles is set to open the gates to Windsor Castle for visitors, and he's offering a special discount for pensioners. Is there a message behind this?
Yeah, you know, this is a really, I think, a nice, heartwarming story that came out this week. So basically, over the period, kind of the Christmas period between November and the end of January, some of the royal palaces are open to the public. So Windsor Castle being one of them, they're open for ticket holders. You can purchase a ticket. It's usually about £35, which is, you know, for tourists coming to the UK, that's probably not a lot. They probably think that that's a pretty good deal to see a royal palace up close. But of course, you know, there are a lot of people in the UK doing it tough. And I think that this was an initiative that was designed to allow more access to the royal residences and all the artefacts, you know, the history of the UK, really. And I think as much as the Windsor Castle and the palaces are the residence of the royal family, they're also really the people's palace. So I think that the message here from the trust that oversees the palaces was that they want more access, more people to be able to appreciate and enjoy these things. I think it's a wonderful message, and for any pension holders, all different types of pension holders in the UK will be eligible for the £1 deal. And I think, you know, what a lovely message, and a great time of year as well, because if you go at this time of year, you get to see the garlands and all of the Christmas decorations. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I love it as well. And there's growing speculation that Meghan Markle could be coming back to the UK just in a couple of months' time following the Duchess's trip to Paris. What more can you tell us about this?
Yeah, well, this has been another one that sort of comes up again. It really began, I think, this renewed speculation of her returning to the UK when she came to Paris for Fashion Week. I think that was such a pretty well-timed appearance by Meghan. You know, it was well received. I think people kind of liked seeing the glamour of her and the flowing, beautiful Balenciaga gown. And I think that the theory is that she might come for London Fashion Week, which is I guess, fall-winter 2025-2026 shows in February. There's a theory now that she might appear at that. I think that, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. We know that she does love fashion. She really put that on the back burner. But if she's sort of showing up at Fashion Week again, I think that it's not out of the realm of possibility. And I think it might actually be a nice icebreaker for Meghan to show up at something like that, just sort of come for a couple days, go to a fashion show, be photographed, and then it kind of breaks the ice in the UK. And then if she does want to come back, say, for the Invictus Games in, 2 years' time, I think that might smooth the pathway a little bit.
Okay, we'll watch this space.
Yeah.
Now, renovations are well underway on the Wales' family new home, Forest Lodge. So what do we know about Kate's special touches on the new home?
Yeah, reportedly, Kate is really emphasising a kind of off-the-grid approach to Forest Lodge. So as we've talked about on this show before, it's a huge home, it's in Windsor Great Park, and it has a lot of land around it, and it's quite secluded, and that was what they wanted. They wanted privacy. And I think that Kate is really spearheading a kind of eco-friendly approach. I think that she wants very organic, she wants to grow food on the property, she wants to keep it sort of sustainable energy-wise. I don't know if she's going to put solar panels on the roof, but certainly the message that is coming out from sources is that, yeah, she's really emphasising a kind of off-the-grid approach. And I think as well, that really ties into what William was saying recently in that interview when he was talking about how the Wales children are not allowed to have phones, that they're encouraged to be outdoors and to be sporty. So I think this is all part of that. I think that the home is really going to be their forever home, as we say, and there's going to be a lot of kind of emphasis on the outdoors and sport, which, again, I think a great message.
Absolutely. Yeah. Riley Sullivan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And that is Power Hour. Thank you for your company. We'll see you next week. Make sure you subscribe to Sky News Australia on YouTube.